What's going on? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to talk about some possible fight matchups post UFC 302 for some fighters and talk about what could be next in the future for different fighters, championship opportunities, as well as fun fights for all. Okay, first off, I want to start with Islam Makhachev, and I think the fight to make is Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. And not to say that Islam shouldn't have the opportunity to go up and fight Leon Edwards, but I don't think the time is now. And I say that just because I think that Islam facing Leon Edwards now is there's two divisions that aren't cleaned out yet by two champions, and that would cause another, that would cause a roadblock in the line. You look at Arman, he's deserved a title shot, and after Arman, there's not really anyone else, so that would justify going through Arman first. Now, if there's multiple contenders, I could definitely see Islam being able to jump up, but since there's really only one contender at 155, I think Arman should get the title shot, and at 170, Leon Edwards is scheduled to fight Bilal Muhammad, and Shavkat Rakhmonov might get a title shot, and if he doesn't, he's going to fight JDM, and JDM versus Shavkat Rakhmonov will get the title shot, which I do think is well-deserved, and I think Leon should not only defend Bilal first and defend Shavkat, but then should possibly then defend against Islam, or Leon, if he wins all those fights, could even go up to 185. Okay, Dustin Poirier. Now, I know Dustin Poirier is talking about retiring, but I know Alexander Volkanovski was calling Dustin Poirier out on 155, and oh my boy, would I love to see that fight. I know Alexander Volkanovski is itching to return, but he's smart not returning currently since he suffered that brutal knockout in October of 2023 to Islam Makhachev, and then right after followed up 4 months later by that brutal knockout by Ilia Topuria. I really do think this fight, Islam versus Volkanovski, Dustin Poirier versus Volkanovski would be an incredible fight for the lightweight division. I don't know. I just think that that's the fight to make. I think Volkanovski moving up in weight isn't a bad idea since he's a big dude considering his weight that he fights at, and he might get another title shot back at 155. And I know he could fight for the belt again at 145, but Volkanovski could be going for money fights now, and him versus Dustin Poirier would definitely be a money fight. Okay, Sean Strickland. I think Sean Strickland should fight for the belt. He deserves it. He's a company man. He took on Abus Magomedov last July, Nasruddin Imavov last January, and then he fought for Israel Adesanya in Sydney on 5 weeks' notice, and somehow beat Izzy, which his style was really good for Izzy, and then went to headline a card in a country that he did not want to not in Australia, in Canada, where he fought Dricus du Plessis, and really everyone thought he won, but Sean Strickland ended up not winning, and he just fought the number 7 ranked Paulo Costa. Give Sean Strickland Dricus du Plessis again, because this was a great fight back in January. Probably, it's not going to win fight of the year, but it was an amazing fight, and I can't lie, I want to see Dricus for Sean again. I think that this is the match to make. Possibly headline this at UFC Perth, if Adesanya doesn't want to come back. I know they're going to give him the shot most likely, but Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, book it. Okay, so Paulo Costa. I'm liking Paulo Costa versus either Anthony Hernandez or Michel Pereira. I think both those fights would be absolutely fantastic. I know Paulo Costa has lost 3 of his last 4, with that one win coming against Luke Rockhold, which isn't an incredible name to beat, considering, and yes, the competition that he has lost to, Marvin Vettori, Robert Whittaker, and Sean Strickland, are all amazing fighters. Luke Rockhold isn't exactly the household name that you really want to have on your record. I think a fight with Michel Pereira would be really, really good. I think Pereira's an up-and-coming monster at 185. And you got Anthony Hernandez, who just beat, not Roman Dolidze, Roman Kapilov at UFC 298. Also, Caio Brajalo could be another great opponent for Paulo Costa. Paulo needs to fight down in the rankings. He's got to get a win under his belt. I could also see Paulo fighting Jack Hermanson in a main event at the Apex, or on a UFC fight or UFC card. Just because Paulo Costa's got to get a win under his belt. I know he's the number 7th ranked currently prior to the UFC rankings changing, but he's really got to get a win under his belt. Kevin Holland. Now, Kevin Holland just wants to fight everyone, and I understand that. But I think a fight with Kevin Holland, you could do Kevin Holland versus Jeff Neal, Kevin Holland versus Joaquin Buckley, And I know Kevin Holland's been eyeing that Neil Magny fight, and I don't think that's an awful fight to make in the welterweight division. Now, I want to stick with Kevin Holland strictly at welterweight because I know he did take this fight on, I shouldn't say on short notice, but he did definitely take the fight on a very short notice compared to what a normal fight camp is. He took this on about 3 weeks, 4 weeks insurance, and yep, I think Kevin Holland's got to beat any single one of those people in the welterweight division. Randy Brown. Now, Randy Brown recently called out Jeff Neal and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on recent fights. I don't mind either of those. Both strikers. I think Stephen Thompson would be a great fight, and I don't know if that would be the person, but I do like a Jeff Neal Randy Brown fight. I think that would be very entertaining for the fans, especially put that on in the same position that Randy Brown was in currently. I think Randy Brown versus Jeff Neal is the fight to make, and I wouldn't be mad at Randy Brown versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson neither. I want to start with Roman Kapilov. I think Roman Kapilov should get Chris Curtis. I think that would be an amazing fight. Putting Roman Kapilov in the top 15. Chris Curtis has been a great fighter. I know he is coming off that hamstring tear versus Brendan Allen back on April 6th, I want to say, at the UFC Apex, in a very razor close decision to Brendan Allen. And I think that this would be a great test for Roman Kapilov. I know he recently lost to Anthony Hernandez, but this win versus Cesar Almeida is getting him back on track, and I think Curtis is the next step in the right direction for him. And lastly, I want to talk about Jailton Almeida. I think Jailton Almeida should fight Ciryl Gane at UFC Paris in September. I think this would be a great fight for Jailton. I think this is one of the contenders that Ciryl Gane hasn't fought yet. And I think considering that you got Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades booked, who he hasn't fought, Sergey Pavlovich, who Gane hasn't fought but is booked, I think Jailton Almeida makes a lot of sense, and I think that's the fight to make at UFC Paris. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the video, me matchmaking future opponents after UFC 302. Please let me know what you think down below. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and soon I want to be able to hold a comments a very interactive where you guys answer big questions and I am able to analyze them and answer back to your comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon.